Hello, I'm Youngwon Kim from Dongguk University DTM Lab. Today I'm going to review a paper titled Translate Patent Vacancies into Human-Readable Texts, Identifying Technology Opportunities with Text Embedding Inversion. This slide presents the bibliographic information of the paper. The study was published in Advanced Engineering Informatics in 2025 and focuses on technology opportunity discovery from patent vacancies. The main idea is to use embedding inversion to translate patent vacancies into human-readable technology descriptions. The proposed approach combines an autoencoder, KDE, and back-to-text, and its effectiveness is demonstrated through a LiDAR case study. Here are the contents of today's review. Here is the research background. Technology opportunity discovery is important for firms to maintain competitiveness, but traditional expert-based approaches are becoming increasingly time and labor-intensive. Patent data are widely used because they provide detailed information on technological development. In particular, patent maps visualize the distribution of technologies and help identify unexplored areas. These unexplored areas are called patent vacancies and may represent potential directions for future technological development. Recent studies have therefore applied dimensionality reduction and machine learning to identify patent vacancies more systematically. Previous patent map approaches can identify patent vacancies, but their technological meaning is still difficult to interpret. GTM-based methods improve vacancy identification, but the results are mainly represented by keywords and still require expert interpretation. To address this limitation, the study proposes an embedding inversion-based approach. Patent vacancies are reconstructed into high-dimensional embeddings, and vector-text converts them into human-readable technology descriptions. The approach is demonstrated and validated through a LiDAR technology case study. Here is the literature on technology opportunity discovery using patent mapping. Patent-based TOD aims to identify unexplored or promising technological areas. One traditional approach is the technology function matrix, which identifies potential vacancies from technology function combinations with low patent activity. Patent-based TOD can be broadly divided into link prediction and patent mapping. Link prediction searches for latent relationships among existing technological elements, while patent mapping focuses on latent regions within the technology space. More recent studies have applied generative topographic mapping, or GTM, to identify vacancies more systematically. GTM maps patents into a low-dimensional space and use inverse mapping to interpret vacant areas. However, these methods still provide only approximate descriptions of the identified patent vacancies. Here is the literature on density estimation for patent analysis. Density estimation represents how patents are distributed and concentrated across a technological landscape. In particular, kernel density estimation, or KDE, is used to identify high-density technological hotspots. KDE-based patent maps also distinguish high-density regions with intensive R&D activity from low-density regions that may represent underexplored technological areas. Based on this idea, the study uses KDE to measure patent density and identify potential patent vacancies. The density information is then used to interpret different types of technology opportunities. The study aims to identify patent vacancies and translate them into human-readable technology descriptions. Patent abstracts are first represented in a semantic embedding space and projected onto a two-dimensional patent map. As shown in the figure, the framework consists of 5 steps. First, patent abstracts are converted into high-dimensional embeddings. Second, an autoencoder is trained to reduce and reconstruct these embeddings. Third, the embeddings are projected onto a two-dimensional patent map, and KDE is used to estimate patent density. First, empty areas in the patent map are identified as patent vacancies. Finally, these vacancies coordinates are reconstructed into high-dimensional embeddings and converted into human-readable text using embedding inversion. Over, the framework transforms unexplored areas in a patent map into interpretable descriptions of potential technologies. Here are the patent embeddings and autoencoder training processes. In step 1, patent abstracts are converted into 1536-dimensional embeddings using OpenAI's text embedding ADA002 model. These embeddings represent the semantic characteristics of each patent, so patents with similar technology content can be represented in similar regions of the embedding space. This embedding model is selected because it is directly compatible with the pre-trained vector-text model used later for embedding inversion. In step 2, the high-dimensional patent embeddings are used to train an autoencoder. The encoder compresses the 1536-dimensional vectors into a two-dimensional latent space, and these 2D coordinates are later used to construct a patent map. An important feature of the autoencoder is its bidirectional transformation capability. The encoder reduces the embeddings from high dimensions to two dimensions, while the decoder can reconstruct the two-dimensional coordinates back into high-dimensional embeddings. This bidirectional structure is essential because the identified patent vacancies must later be reconstructed and converted into human-readable text. Here is the dimensionality reduction and density estimation process. The trained encoder first transforms the patent embeddings into two-dimensional coordinates. These coordinates form the patent map, where patents with similar technological content are positioned closer together. The patent map is then divided into grid cells, and patent density is calculated for each cell to distinguish populated and vacant technological areas. Next, kernel density estimation, or KDE, is applied to estimate the overall distribution of patents. High-density regions represent technological hotspots with intensive patent activity, while low-density regions indicate relatively underexplored technological areas. By combining grid-based mapping with KDE, the study can identify patent vacancies more systematically. The KDE bandwidth is determined using Silverman's rule. Here's the vacancy identification process. Patent vacancies are identified cell by cell within the generated patent map. As shown in the figure, a cell containing at least one patent is classified as a non-vacancy, while an empty cell is defined as a patent vacancy. These empty cells represent potentially unexplored positions within the technology space. For each vacancy, the centroid of the empty cell is selected as its representative coordinate. This is based on the assumption that nearby positions in the embedding space have similar semantic characteristics. These vacancy coordinates are then used in the next step to reconstruct the technological meaning of the unexplored areas. Here is the dimensionality reconstruction and embedding inversion process. First, the two-dimensional vacancy coordinates are reconstructed back into the original 1536-dimensional embedding space using the autoencoder decoder. The reconstructed vector represents the semantic characteristics of the corresponding patent vacancy. Next, the pre-trained vector-text model performs embedding inversion. It converts the high-dimensional vacancy embedding into a human-readable textual description of the potential technology. As shown in the figure, vector-text iteratively refines the generated text so that its embedding becomes closer to the target embedding. Through this process, the technological meaning of a patent vacancy can be expressed as text without manual interpretation. Here's the case study setup and the first two steps. The study applies the proposed approach to LiDAR technology. LiDAR-related patents were collected from the USPTO for the period from 2014 to 2023, using relevant keyword and IPC codes. The patent abstracts are converted into 1536-dimensional embeddings using text embedding ADA002. The dataset is then divided into two periods. Earlier patents are used for model training and vacancy identification, while later patents are reserved for out-of-sample validation. In step 2, an autoencoder is trained using these patent embeddings. It compresses the high-dimensional vectors into a two-dimensional representation using MSE as the loss function and AdamW as the optimizer. These two-dimensional representations are then used to construct the LiDAR patent map. Here are the patent map construction and vacancy identification processes. In step 3, the patent embeddings are projected onto a two-dimensional patent map using the trained encoder. KDE is then applied to estimate patent density across the technology space. The map is divided into density-based zones. Zone A represents the highest density area, while zones B to E represent progressively lower density regions. Extremely sparse peripheral areas are excluded because their technological interpretation is less reliable. In step 4, empty grid cells are identified as patent vacancies. The study first focused on zone A, B, and C because these relatively high density regions are considered more reliable for identifying potential technology opportunities. This slide shows the LiDAR patent map and the identified patent vacancies. In the upper figure, patent embeddings are projected into two-dimensional coordinates, and KDE is used to estimate patent density. The map is divided into zones A through E, with patent density decreasing from zone A to zone E. High-density regions indicate more active technological development, while the peripheral region is excluded because of its low interpretability. The lower figure shows the patent vacancies identified in zones A, B, and C. As shown by the X marks, the number of vacancies increases as patent density decreases. This suggests that lower density regions contain more unexplored technological spaces, while high density regions have relatively fewer vacancies. Here is the validation process. The identified patent vacancies are validated using LiDAR patents filed in 2022 and 2023. These later patents are projected onto the patent map constructed from the early data. A substantial portion of the previously identified vacancies is later fil- filed by actual patents, suggesting that some vacancies can represent future technology opportunities. The generated vacancy abstracts are then compared with the abstracts of these real patents. Experts evaluate the generated texts as readable and technological similar to the subsequent patents. Quantitative validation is also conducted using text embedding ADA002 and sentence BERT, and the results show high semantic similarity. However, the validation shows that the proposed approach can identify potential future technological spaces and describe their technological content. This slide shows the detailed validation results. The table compares three generated vacancy abstracts with real patent abstracts that later appeared in the corresponding technological spaces. As shown in the examples, the generated and real abstracts describe similar technological concepts and functions. The study also measures semantic similarity using two embedding models, text embedding ADA002 and sentence BERT. All three cases show relatively high similarity scores. These results further support that the generated vacancy descriptions can represent meaningful future technology opportunities. Here are the discussion results on hyperparameter settings and vacancy precision. First, cell size directly affects how many patent vacancies are identified. Smaller cells capture more detailed technological gaps, but they also generate a large number of vacancy candidates. In contrast, large cells reduce the number of vacancies, but they may miss subtle opportunities. Patent density also affects the reliability of the identified vacancies. High-density regions generally contain fewer but more reliable vacancies, while low-density regions contain more vacancies with higher uncertainty. As shown in the table, the number of identified vacancies decreases substantially as cell size increases. Therefore, the optimal cell size should be selected according to the purpose of analysis, and the LiDAR case study mainly focuses on the relatively high density zones A to C. Here, the discussion focuses on incremental and radical technology opportunities. Patent density is used as the main bias for distinguishing these two types of opportunities. Incremental opportunities are found in high-density regions that are close to existing technology cores. Because they are more similar to established technologies, they generally involve lower development and market risks and are more suitable for short-term development. In contrast, radical opportunities appear in low-density regions that are more distant from existing technologies. These areas may contain more novel technology possibilities, but they also involve greater uncertainty, higher risk, and longer-term development. As summarized in the table, the characteristics of technology opportunities therefore differ depending on their location and density within the patent map. Here, the discussion focuses on the temporal dynamics of technology opportunities. Patent vacancies are analyzed across multiple time periods to capture how the wider technology landscape evolves. As shown in the figure, many vacant areas gradually disappear as new patents occupy previously unexplored technological spaces. This overall decline in vacancies indicates the maturation of the wider technology field. High-density regions such as Zone A become saturated more quickly, while lower-density regions continue to contain more potential opportunities. The temporal analysis also helps distinguish persistent opportunities from temporary vacancies. By tracking how vacancies change over time, the study can identify possible technological trajectories and future development paths. Finally, here is the conclusion. The study proposes a new approach that translates patent vacancies into human-readable technology descriptions by integrating text embedding, an autoencoder, KDE, and embedding inversion. The latter case study shows that the identified vacancies can be converted into interpretable technology concepts and validated using subsequently filed patents. The framework is also transferable to other technology fields and different textual sources, including patents, papers, and technical reports. From a practical perspective, the approach can support technology opportunity discovery and strategic R&D planning by identifying promising research directions. Future research should improve the quality of generated descriptions and evaluate their long-term validity using more advanced embedding models and additional external data. Thank you for listening my paper review.